At this time last year, the world was waiting for the inevitable and unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. It began on the night of February 23rd for those in the United States. It was already the early hours of February 24th here in Ukraine.
Putin, first of all, his background was KGB. He was well-trained KGB agent. Second, he didn't drink. He was not a big fan of drinking. And obviously it was easy for him to solve the crime issue because he came from the background of the elite of the Russian Soviet special services, and he knew how to handle this crime. Had ongoing war in the part of Russia called Chechnya, where they had two wars when Putin just came, and the second war during his presidency, and that actually finished because they want to separate from Russia. But after the second war, actually Chechnya changed significantly, and now it's one of the richest regions of Russia. Obviously, second thing that he did, it was taking out all oligarchs and basically passing their wealth to the government, kind of what China was trying to do with Alibaba president. And third thing, obviously, when you don't have high crime, when you have high investments in your country, actually first years of presidency of Putin was very successful. Russia is one of the biggest oil and gas producers. There were constant investments. He even couple times mentioned that he wants to see Russia as a part of the European Union and ally within NATO. Everything started to change after 2002 when many Eastern European countries were accepted to European Union and NATO, including Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, which are border states. Generally, honestly, I don't think that NATO was aiming to, start a war with Russia or do something towards oppressing Russia. It was just a policy, and many small countries that were bordering Russia, they were just scared. And according to NATO regulations, if any of the countries that belongs to NATO was attacked, it means all countries have to defend it. And obviously the biggest country in NATO is the United States. And this is strange because Putin is mentioning this on and on in almost all of his speeches, that stating that they were not interested in starting all this, but the only reason they starting is they were concerned that Ukraine will go to NATO. But on the flip side of the coin, the only reason that Ukraine would join NATO would be Russia. He's kind of contradicting himself. So there are several reasons why the war started. So as you can see, this issue is very sophisticated, but generally many people predict that the war will end on May 9th because it's a big holiday in Russia and they celebrate the win on the World War II over the Germany. And many people think that Putin will try to finalize the war on May 9th. But the situation that Russia got into is really not what they thought. Many experts think that Russia had been very misinformed about the situation in Ukraine. Since 2014, Ukraine held constant trainings, military trainings, and they basically were preparing for something like this to happen. So plan of Russia was something like Taliban did in Afghanistan, to go in to take over the government in 1 or 2 days. But obviously it didn't work, and it's been almost more than a month now. We have an ongoing war in Ukraine, and Russia is the most heavily sanctioned country, although some European countries were not able to, completely sanction Russia. But overall, the situation in Russia is not the best right now. The economy is in huge stagnation. People who are surrounding Putin are not happy. I believe Putin himself is not happy too. Recently, he had a meeting with his Minister of Defense, where he was just holding the table like this, and obviously it was visible that he's very nervous. But overall, my opinion on this is that the war already did the highest damage to both countries. Lots of people left Ukraine, and most of them won't be coming back. Lots of people are leaving Russia. Lots of people are living under crazy poverty in both countries. And there was a significant damage to the industries, to the job places where people work, psychological damages. And as a person who grew up in several countries that had wars, I believe it will just take too much time for all this to settle down, even if the war will end. I don't think that Russia will be able to continue this war like a year or two. From what I see, Ukraine will not stop fighting, and they have resources to go with like a year or two, because they don't have a place to back up. It's their territory. And unfortunately, everything that happens in Ukraine and Russia is a tragedy, and it's not a tragedy only for Ukraine or Russia. It's a tragedy for the whole world, because it affects the world economy. Ukraine and Russia are one of the world's biggest grain producers, and this is significantly affecting the world economy. Already experts are expecting nations to starve in the poor countries of the African and South Asian continent. Basically, what we see will have a significant effect on the whole world, unfortunately. Thank you for watching, guys. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.